Welcome to New Mexico Restaurants Now, where we get you the inside scoop on the food scene across New Mexico. This episode is brought to you by NMRA's Chef Table sponsors. These businesses provide the most generous level of support to help keep restaurants protected, informed, and successful. So, thank you to Benny Keith Foods, the Food Industry Self-Insurance Fund, Heartland Payment Systems, Shamrock Foods, Cisco New Mexico, and U.S. Foods. We wouldn't be here without you. I'm Carol White, CEO of the New Mexico Restaurant Association, and our guest today is Gene Baca of Bueno Foods. Welcome, Gene.
Hi, Carol. Glad to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. Now, usually we're talking to restaurants on this podcast, but you supply a very necessary piece to most restaurants in New Mexico. And just so you know, we have talked about chili, red chili, green chili, a lot on the podcast. And so this is just an extension of that. Bueno Foods basically puts up chili and sells New Mexico food products. So talk to us a bit about Bueno Foods and how you got involved.
Okay, sure. Well, Bueno Foods is our family's company, and my dad and two brothers started it 70 years ago. We just celebrated our 70th anniversary in May. And so right now, three of my sisters and I are running the company. We own, operate it. And I've been in the company in this role more or less since 1986. And so we've all been in it for decades now. And so we're looking at the next generation coming up here. And so they're still pretty young in their late teens, early 20s, but we're looking at them as well. But it's a family-run company. We our largest product line is frozen green chili. We do frozen red chili as well, which is really delicious. Tortillas are a major part of Mexican food, New Mexican food as well. And so that's a major product line. And then we do a lot of prepared items, such as tamales, enchiladas, rellenos, kind of New Mexico specialties, and really done in the New Mexico way with New Mexico chili and the way that we make it at home. And so, all of our recipes are based on family recipes. We're a long-time New Mexico family. Our family has been here, or can trace back our roots to 1600. So we've been here for a long time. And so, I love being in this business. It's a fun business, fun feeding people kind of on a larger scale, and being able to provide ingredients that restaurants in particular, but people, retailers, people, consumers, homeowners, just the kind of ingredients that they want to make a good meal. So we're really proud of that.
Well, and it is the basis for almost every meal in New Mexico.
Yeah.
We'll eat French food and Italian food, and we won't necessarily put chili on it, but sometimes we do.
Yeah, I know, but don't all of us put a little bit of red chili flakes in our spaghetti, or throw some green chili into mac and cheese, right? So we all do takes on those as well. So.
That's right. So,
yeah.
So you guys, let's talk about chili. Let's, start at the beginning. So a chili is a plant. The pods are the flower. No, there's a flower, and then the pods are the fruit, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. And so chili is actually a fruit. I mean, we all think of it as a vegetable because it's savory, right? But it comes from a flower, and which makes it a fruit. And actually, it's actually taxonomically classified as a berry, believe it or not, but it's related to tomatoes, that family. And so, but there's a lot of kind of interesting things about chili. I mean, some difficult things and some interesting things. It's kind of a difficult item to actually deal with, like from a processing standpoint, because it's very irregularly shaped. It's elongated. It's hollow. It has a stem that can or cannot detach. You have to peel it in order to consume it. And so, but the chili that we know, New Mexico chili, actually came from, I think there were native chilies that were in the area many years ago. And there's some scientists, primarily from New Mexico State, that worked on developing the chili that we know now, which is, we call it the New Mexico long green and New Mexico long red. But they took various types of chili, and including jalapeno, poblano, and then this native New Mexico chili, to develop what we know now. There's a lot of different varieties of chili that all have, of green chili and red chili, that all have distinct characteristics. Some are sweeter, some are hotter, some are very large, some are more determinate, meaning that they ripen all at once, rather than most chili that we know, it ripens over time, meaning that you can have really small pods and really large mature pods on the same plant at the same time. And so, but one thing that a lot of people don't know, I mean, I think New Mexicans all know this, but green chili and red chili is the same thing, just that green chili is the more immature version of red chili, and red chili is the super mature version. And so as green chili matures, it turns first what we call pinto or chocolate, and then it turns red. And as it gets more and more red, the peel actually becomes more an integral part of the product. So green chili is, it's fairly easy to peel, but red chili, it's really difficult to peel, as anybody knows. And dehydrated red, you can't peel it anymore. So green chili is mostly I'll eat that fresh, or we roast it and then we peel it and then consume it. Some of us freeze it for use during the year. In fact, New Mexicans, for the most part, we all have a freezer, I think, in order to to put some chili up, right, and store it for the year. All of us do that.
You know what? I've finally stopped that. And do you know what I do instead?
What's that?
I buy Bueno frozen.
Yeah, I love it.
And that is absolutely the truth,
it.
because I just got
Yeah.
tired of peeling it and all of that. So I let you guys do the work, and I just put some frozen in my freezer.
I love it. I gotta admit that I even do a little bit of fresh chili myself. We do a lot of different varieties. I like to test them out. So we'll take some home and put it out on the grill and roast it and freeze it, and then just bring it out during the year. But for the most part, we use Bueno as well, as you would imagine, right? I hope so, right?
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a big deal here. So in the fall, when the crop starts coming in, every grocery store in New Mexico has a huge iron roaster, and they have bags of chili, and you go buy a bag of chili inside the store, you take it outside the store, and they roast it. And I mean, it just smells incredible. And it is a New Mexico smell, right?
Exactly. I think that's the best part of fall.
I do too.
We have beautiful falls here. And so as you all know, Carol, but our skies are so blue, whatever. But when you go out, to any supermarket or stands all over the place in our processing plant, just that smell of green chili is absolutely wonderful. There's nothing like it.
It's absolutely true. Now red chili is a little bit different. And again, I buy Bueno frozen red, nice. Because I don't want to process it myself. I will tell you that I use your for my pozole, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but for my pozole, I use your recipe that's on your red chili pods.
Okay.
So I buy a bag of red chili pods. They're dry.
Yeah.
And break them off, take the seeds out, and then I put those in my soup, and then I scrape out the insides once they've dehydrated. So let's talk a little bit about some of the other food products, including pozole.
Okay. Yeah. Well, pozole. So pozole is one of our major holiday items, right? Because everybody in New Mexico makes a big pot of pozole, and then people also do it for parties or throughout the year as well. But 90% of our sales are in December, as you would imagine, for pozole. Same with tamales, and tamales are basically a corn masa that is wrapped around some kind of filling. And for the most part, we do pork tamales, like a pork and red chili filling. We do chicken tamales, and we also make beef tamales. And then we do a bunch of vegetarian and even vegan tamales as well. But you can really wrap, tamale can be almost anything, any kind of filling. But traditionally, pork tamales are the main, is a kind of New Mexico staple holiday item. Our enchiladas, we do a bunch of retail enchiladas, and those I think are really good for a retail prepared item. And so we've gotten a lot of comments that they're just like homemade. And so we worked really hard on that recipe, making sure that it not only freezes well, but also, if you microwave it or heat it otherwise, that it comes out really good. So if people have not tried those items, they should. I think especially for people who don't live in New Mexico, you can find them in other states. And so it brings a little bit of New Mexico back to you, wherever you're at. So those are some of the major items, Carol.
Well, even, I was going to say, even the chili roasting, I was very surprised when I was in San Diego a couple of years ago in the fall, and they had hatch green chili and
Yeah,
they had roasters outside of
yeah,
the store. And I was like, what? You're stealing
yeah.
this. This isn't yours,
Well, the New Mexico Department of Agriculture actually was responsible for a lot of that because they wanted to promote New Mexico chili. So outside New Mexico, a lot of people don't really know New Mexico chili. So they took roasters out. They got chili from farms in New Mexico, and they went out all over the country, even to the northeastern U.S., the southeastern U.S., the coast, etc. And so that could have been one of those events, Carol. I don't know. But then once the retailer saw how consumers reacted, they started doing it themselves. So they started bringing out their roasters and bringing in chili. Of course, not all use New Mexico chili, which is kind of a bummer. But but the real thing is the New Mexico chili that they roast.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, because we are, well, it's so funny to me that within our borders of New Mexico it's really the only place you get New Mexican food. You step across into Texas and it's a very different Mexican food. It's Tex-Mex. You go to Colorado and they really don't know what Mexican food is. I'm just going to say it.
Sure.
Arizona has a very different blend. It's a little bit more like California Mexican. And then, of course, our southern border at Mexico, it changes once again. And so I do believe we have this very unique product. And I think right now is kind of the time when people are going to start coming to New Mexico for tourism, right?
Right. We hope so.
Yeah, food tourism. And that's because I think people can eat their food a little hotter. We've always been able to do that here. I don't know what it is about New Mexico. I mean, I'm a gringa and I can eat chili as hot as, anybody else, and I have to have it. It's not just that I can eat it. It's that you, at least once a day, you have to have it. Right.
Yeah. Yes.
And
definitely.
Talk about that. Do you know, is it true about the endorphins?
It is true, and I think that what we understand about that is that what makes chili hot, capsaicin, it's also what gives you a little bit of pain, maybe if it's really hot, or makes you sweat or whatever. But that creates a reaction in your body that actually produces endorphins, and so we all become slightly addicted to chili. So even though we may get used to the heat, and even hot chili doesn't taste so hot to us anymore, we still become addicted to that feeling. And so, whether it's like a, major addiction, I don't know, but it is something that we crave and that we want to repeat over and over. And that's why we end up eating chili so often. I'm like you, and I think a lot of people are, where we have to have some every day in some form, right? And so, the funny thing is that you say about that is that we see people who are new to the area who at first it's like, oh, hot, or it's too hot to eat, but then they are become just like us, where after a while they can't do without it. So it's kind of a neat thing, kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a little bit, what do I want to say? It's a little bit like wine, and so you become a connoisseur as well, and you start liking one type of chili and you kind of go to liking another kind. I always think, and I don't know if this is true, you could tell me, is that you start with green chili because it's a little bit more accessible, and then your palate changes over time. And I mean, I'm a red chili person kind of exclusively, except maybe when I'm in southern New Mexico where the green chili is grown. I think they just do a better job with it down there. But how does that work? Is there a science to that?
I don't know if there's a science though. If there is, I'm not aware of it, but we do kind of see that. I think that green chili is a little bit more accessible. Red chili is a little bit more complex flavor, right? And so you probably might maybe liken it to a white wine and red wine, using your analogy there. And so, but that being said, I mean, you would never have a cheeseburger with red chili, right? It's got to be green chili on your green chili cheeseburger. And so, and for me, the traditional way of pozole is with red chili, or even tamales, and so that's what we eat. But then at a certain point, it becomes preference, right? And like, what kind of enchiladas do you like? Do you like green chili or red chili?
Oh, I gotta have red. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
see,
it's got
that's
to,
typically what I have too. But sometimes, man, I'm craving some green chili enchiladas, you know. And
well,
the other
if
thing
you
that New
put chicken
Mexicans
and
do,
sour cream, then it's got to be green, right?
exactly, yeah, with poultry, it just seems like green goes better, you know. And then, of course, as New Mexican, we got to put a fried egg on top, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, that's what really makes it, you know. So yeah, so I don't know if there's a science behind it, Carol, but I think maybe you start liking the complexity of red chili more over time once you start eating chili frequently.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my take on it. But I do hear from a lot of native New Mexicans or people who've been eating chili for a long time, they got to have the red part. When I don't hear that as frequently from people who are new to chili. So I don't know. But so what would you say? Could you say what your favorite is, red or green? I mean, that's the New Mexico State question, right? Red or green? What's your favorite?
Oh, my favorite is red. But I had my years with green,
Yeah.
and we
You
had
moved
the
on,
love
huh?
affair, and now I've moved on to bigger, better,
Yeah.
just different, really. And I also think, because I lived in southern New Mexico, where a lot of the chili is grown for a long time, and again, I think they do green chili better down there. I came up
Yeah.
to northern New Mexico, and
Mhm.
they put tomatoes and stuff in their green chili. It's just
Mhm.
like it's a
Yeah.
sacrilege.
Yeah. You know, and it's kind of funny that because you talk about regionalism, but even within New Mexico, right? I mean, southern New Mexico food is different from northern New Mexican food. And you know, some put a roux in their chili, you know, so flour water mixture that's been cooked. And some don't. I mean, I personally prefer it without. I like the pure taste of chili, both red chili and green chili without. Uh, but I don't know. So here's another question. I mean, you know, people are different about heat, right? Like some like it so hot they can hardly stand it, right? They're just sweating and but they got to keep eating it, you know. And some people just like it with no heat or very little, you know. What's your thing, Carol? Do you like heat in your chili?
Oh, I used to be a hot girl, and I really wanted it hot, and I wanted the sweat, and I wanted my nose to drip and all of that. And
Yeah.
now I my stomach doesn't allow that anymore.
Uh,
So I've got to
yeah.
be a little bit careful about it. But again, it's kind of maturing, although I wish I could handle it hotter
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. I like some heat to it. I don't like it real mild. I like to feel it. I don't think I'm one that has to be covered in sweat to enjoy it though. But I do like hot chili. But here's a little tip. I mean, here's one of my go-tos, which is, like I said, I roast a little bit of chili, on the side, and we have some products that are based on this. But green chili that is turning red, and when there's a pretty good mixture of red in it, like 20%, maybe even up to 50%, is really good because then you get that. I think that's where you get the kind of the peak of flavor that all the flavonoids are really well developed, and then you get the sweetness of the red, and then the taste of the green. To me, that's my favorite, that mixture, and then it's beautiful. It just that red and green mixed together. I remember one time when I was in high school, we worked in the company all our lives, and so one of my jobs one summer, the way that we used to process chili back then is, people would peel it, roast it, peel it, and then come down the line, and then somebody would stand there and put it through a chopper, and chop the chili up, and that's how we sold it. And I used to love putting the red and green chilies in together because it just made such a pretty mixture, And I didn't have any control over it. I just liked that thing, so I'll never forget that. Just kind of sliding those red chilies in with the green and how beautiful it is. But I still love, that's one of my favorite. So if somebody says that do you like red or green better? That's one of my favorite products, is that fresh red with fresh green. That is just really, really delicious.
So let's talk about that for a minute, because I've often wondered, you can only get that when it's fresh, and you can only get it it has to be right off. Is it already going red on the vine, on
It
the
is.
plant?
It is. And so we do one product. It's called Autumn Roast, and this is a product that I really advocate for early on, which is that product, which is late harvest roast basically. And so it's a mixture of red, has a pretty high percentage of, it's a mixture of green and red, pretty high percentage of red in it, so it has that kind of balance. But we've put out that fresh red product at various times, in the market to see if it would take off, and I think that market just wasn't ready for it yet. And so, but the actual fresh red, you can make like a fresh red chili sauce, which is different than dehydrated red, chili pods and what we typically think of as red chili. But that's, if somebody can get a hold of some red, like, on their own or whatever, that's a product worth trying, because I think that's really tasty. Just a little
Interesting.
sweeter. Yeah, not as earthy as dehydrated red chili, so it has that fresh characteristic, but it has the sweetness of red. I think it's really good.
Fun, interesting. Yeah. So I do love those. Like, as if I go and pick through chilies at the store, I try to get the ones with a little bit of red on the green,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then if I ever do roast it, which I don't very often anymore.
Yeah, you don't need to. We do it for you, Carol.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Really appreciate that.
yeah.
So let's talk a little bit. We don't have too much time, but a little bit about the chili fields, because we
Yeah.
are very proud of the ones that are grown here in New Mexico, and they're different. The chili in New Mexico is just that much different from the chili in Colorado or California or Mexico. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, it's kind of funny because I belong to this Facebook group called New Mexico Recipes or something like that, where people post pictures of their food and recipes, things like along those lines. And so I just put up 3 pictures of pictures that one of my staff took today of chili fields, and they just kind of showed expansive fields and some plants. And man, that thing blew up. It's like I don't know if people are not used to seeing that, but when you see a big 100-acre plot of green chili plants, it's just beautiful. And so I think people just really like seeing kind of where their food comes from, and that whole part of it. But the whole debate about New Mexico versus other states, whether it's Colorado or somebody else, I mean, obviously we're partial to New Mexico chili, and Bueno is, my grandma's family actually grew and sold chili in the Hatch area in the 1800s, probably mid to late 1800s. And so probably just kind of, it's really sustenance living back then. It wasn't a business, but they did some of that way back then. And that's kind of our family's first foray into chili on a commercial level. But obviously, we're all about New Mexico chili. We helped start the New Mexico Certified program, which is basically an independent guarantee that chili actually was grown in New Mexico. And so we just think that New Mexico, the not just the climate, not just the soil, not just the altitude, all those things, but also just our culture on how much we care about that crop. Our farmers, I mean, they all have a passion for chili. They could grow something else if they wanted. They probably could make more money, but they just love growing it because it's part of their culture. And I think that love comes through in our product. It's not just another crop to us. It's something that is really part of who we are as a people. So we're partial to New Mexico chili, and so I'll certainly try other chili. I mean, I'll eat jalapeno as much as anybody, or serranos, or whatever else, But New Mexico chili, there's just nothing like it, and not just the New Mexico long green, but just chili that's actually grown in New Mexico. There's nothing like that. So when other states try to put their chili against ours, I'm kind of like, yeah, you're a bunch of wannabes, We got the real stuff here. Yeah.
It's true. And we started it, and so therefore ours is better.
Yeah. And regional differences in Mexican food, though, they're great. I mean, I love going to whether it's in Mexico or Texas or California or Colorado, wherever, and seeing how they do it, because it's fun to see how they do things different. And some things are really good. It's just not New Mexico food or New Mexican food, and that, I think, is it's the real deal. To me, that's the best of all.
Yeah. Well, to me too. And so before we go, I want to find out how can people find Bueno in their grocery stores, number one. Number two, if they can't find it in their grocery stores, where do they go?
Well, so on our website, and it's buenofoods.com, buenofoods.com. There's an actual store locator there. So you put in your zip code and it'll tell you what stores around you. And we have actually pretty good distribution for consumers. So, throughout the Southwest, including Southern California, Texas, Colorado, Arizona, Utah, up into the mountain states, and even in towards the East Coast and all that. So people can find our products out there. And so I think a lot of New Mexicans move out, but they want their chili though, and they can just look it up and find a store that sells our products. We sell some through mail order as well, and you can look at that on our website as well. There's a place to order those, and we actually have a lot of restaurant customers throughout the U.S. And so there's a pretty good chance that if you actually find a restaurant that serves New Mexico chili, it's you can ask them, see if it's a Bueno chili, And because if it's Bueno, that means it's New Mexico chili, and that means it's probably ours. So that's probably the best way to find that. But anyway, but we're lucky. We have really great loyal consumers all over the U.S. And I think because we hit on something that people love, we love it, we have passion for it, and I think people can tell that. So we really appreciate our customers who love New Mexico chili.
Well, and now we have this really fabulous thing at the airport. You
Yeah.
can get a little lunch bag full of frozen chilies. And so I go out and visit my kids. They live in San Diego and Arizona and Colorado. And, I text them from the airport, how much chili do you want? What do you want? What's in your freezer?
Yeah.
What don't you have? So we travel with your chili quite often.
I love it. Yeah. And so we're pretty lucky to work with the restaurants out in the airport who do sell that. So yeah, we're happy that people have an easy way of doing it. They don't have to take it through security. They just get it right after security and can take it on the plane. So
right.
Yeah, so
and I don't have to pack it in my luggage either and worry about what's going to happen there. Right.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. That sounds good, Carol. I appreciate that you do that.
Well, listen, Jean, it's been really fun. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today. Is there anything else you'd like to tell folks?
Just keep on eating that chili, And so, we've been in business for 70 years. Family still owns it. We really appreciate our customers, and we're going to keep on doing this as long as we can. And so, but I appreciate all our restaurant customers, Carol. You guys run a great organization there, and thank you guys for what you do and for supporting restaurants. It's been a tough year for a lot of people, and so
it has been. And Gene's on my board of directors. He has been for quite a few years now, and just I appreciate your support too. Not just
thanks,
Bueno,
Carol.
but yours personally. It has been a tough year, and hopefully we're on the other side of it.
I hope so. I things are looking up, is what I can see. More and more so. So we're glad to be past the peak anyway, right? Looks like it's going to get much better from here on out.
Yeah.
But thank you, Carol, for having me on your program, and I really appreciate it. It's good to see you.
Thanks so much. Good to see you too. You take care.
Yeah, you too. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Thank you to our generous sponsors, U.S. Foods, Cisco, New Mexico, Shamrock Foods, Heartland Payment Systems, the Food Industry Self-Insurance Fund, and Benny Keith Foods for their annual sponsorship of NMRA and its programs. Visit nmrestaurants.org to learn more about our chef table sponsors and the association. Thanks for tuning in to New Mexico Restaurants Now. You can watch this and other episodes on the New Mexico Restaurants Now YouTube channel, and you can subscribe to the audio podcast at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Bye now.